Traditionally here, 10 o'clock on Wednesdays, it's Dylan Butler. And good morning, Dylan.
Hey, how are you?
What is the mug of the day, sir?
Yeah, apparently you can't see because this camera setup on StreamYard is not working again. It's weird. It's weird because in other like Zoom and stuff, it's worked.
That's weird.
So I don't know the technology, but
I don't know the technology either, but that's strange.
it is a Yankee mug. And the funny thing too is it worked. Like I didn't do anything for it to work. And I also didn't do anything for it not to work. So I don't know.
So blame me, basically, is what you're saying.
No.
I think blaming me is a good safe out when it comes to technology. All right. So since you've got the Yankees mug this morning, we've been talking about off-season stuff in Major League Soccer, and apparently the biggest piece of news is not necessarily the biggest piece of news or the biggest surprise, but hey, Luis Suarez and the Messi and friends, that is apparently close to becoming a thing, as they say.
Yeah, and Michelle Kaufman reported as a TAM deal.
TAM deal.
Which
TAM, yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, I will say this. Chris Henderson is a smart and shrewd enough executive, considering everything that's gone haywire in the past and the sanctions. Like he's gonna be above board with what this is, and I think it's an incredible bit of business, and let's get the whole band together, right?
Yeah, I mean, so you get the whole group together, and Abby is making the point that they are the Fort Lauderdale. It is Inter Fort Lauderdale until further notice because they have not moved to Melrose yet. She's not wrong, but you look at, and we were kind of getting into the philosophical part of Inter Miami, and we'll talk playoffs and MLS Cup coming up, obviously.
All that minor stuff.
Yeah, but the philosophical idea of the Moss brothers and Messi and friends is what happens in a year and a half or 2 years when Messi and friends all turn into ambassadors and they finally do retire. Is this something where the Moss brothers and Inter Miami, as they move into a new stadium and try to have folks walking in the door consistently, do they just continue to feed the beast and follow this road? Or do they hit a stopping point and sit there and go, man, we've invested $11 gazillion and we're not getting the return of our investment? Have they stepped in it to a point to where they can't step out of it?
I think when you sign a Messi, I mean, that's a strong sign of your intent. Like, go back to the original big signing, right, in MLS and David Beckham. Like, the Galaxy never, they were hits and misses, obviously, right? But they were always spending large, right? Like, they were always going for that big player.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to be the intention of Inter Miami here. Like, it's going to be, I mean, and then too, I don't know. You wonder if, like, you can, ideally, if you're Beckham and the Moss brothers, you can get additional friends along the way, and then they can get other friends, and like, so like, even if Messi steps aside, like, I'm trying to think of a band. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a band that like continue to get new members, and then an older member stayed, but like it just continued to be like this same organism kind of. And I feel like that ideally is what they want to do, right? Like, I don't know if a Neymar's the next kind of guy, right? Or you get Mbappe, right? Like, can an Mbappe then get this other guy, right? And can that other guy then get this next guy? You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like tag, like, or.
And that's what I was wondering is, like, do they just sit there and do the 4x100 relay race?
Yeah.
And keep handing the baton off and off and off and off. And
ideally, right? And that way too, you don't have to have a new philosophy or change, like, like, NYCFC in its origins had the big name guys, right? Villa and Lampard and Pirlo, and they've gone away, or they have gone away from that, right? To a different model, if you will. Now maybe they change that when they go into a new stadium, because you need to have that big draw of a player in your new fancy stadium. But Red Bulls changed that, right? From Thierry Henry and Rafa Marquez and Tim Cahill to leaning more on their academy and youth setup, and guys who fit that energy drink soccer way you play, right? So yeah, I mean, I think ideally you for them, they want to be in the headlines all the time. They want to be that team that sells all the jerseys, right? Like that gets the butts in the seats. So yeah, I think they're going to aim to try to continue to do that.
And so I know a lot of folks are going to be naturally skeptical about getting everybody under this cap figure, but even if Suarez is a TAM, he's going to get an NIL deal, and it's going to be like, okay, so you're gonna have these folks and these folks and these folks, and I think that NIL deal that will be in and around whatever Suarez gets with his TAM deal will help the bottom line when it comes to salary. So it will be interesting. And looking at the numbers, he played like a gazillion minutes last year in like more games. He played like north of 50 matches and played like 4,500 minutes. I mean, some insane numbers. And he admitted to taking injections and pills to take care of his knees. He ain't going to play 4,200 minutes in Major League Soccer, so he won't have that to worry about.
No, and you would assume those knees also aren't going to hit the turf at Gillette Stadium or perhaps at Mercedes-Benz or others, right? So
everybody brings an artificial grass to make sure that he plays.
I will say though too, the other part of it is, in addition to getting all these like mega stars and having your own like sort of I guess you can't call it FIFA anymore, right? Like it's a different game now, but
playoff,
having your own all-star team, like it also, and it happened obviously with Messi, you attract the younger players who want to play with those guys. So you still do get the youth players and the younger guys and the the guys who you need as well to further this along, and that happened obviously with Messi, and I think that would continue to happen with other guys of that ilk.
Yeah. All right. So when it came to your bracket for the playoffs, when was it officially busted?
I never actually did one. I should have, though. I do believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you and I both predicted the final.
Yes. And I was nowhere close, I don't think.
Well, no. Well, it was only 4 teams to pick from last week.
Yeah.
And I did have this final.
Yeah, you did.
You had.
I think I went Houston. I went the.
Did you go Houston?
I wanted.
I thought you went LAFC Cincy, but.
I try to avoid LAFC at any cost. But no, I wanted Houston because I thought they could take care of LAFC, and I think I had Columbus and Houston last week.
Okay. So yeah, you were nowhere close.
I was nowhere close. Not really a surprise, but when you looked at the East and the West, what stuck out to you when it came to those conference finals?
Oh, it was all about the East, right? It was hell is real. Delivering, right? Like it's so rare, unfortunately, in sports where you get that kind of dream matchup and it delivers what you want and even more. I'm trying to think of I'm a big Duke. Like St. John's is my heart. That's where I went. I'm a big St. John's basketball fan, obviously. But I'm a big Duke fan as well. and it obviously didn't go Duke's way, but like that Duke Carolina Final Four, right? Like that was a great game. You don't get those a lot. And this one delivered in a big way, right? Like it was, and good luck following that up, which is what the West had to do. And it obviously fell short of that. Like you were kind of like, I don't know, if not being a fan of either, you were kind of like, all right.
Uh-huh.
You were still kind of basking in like the glow or like, like that post Thanksgiving food coma of of the Eastern Conference Final, right? Like what a match.
I and the way it always ends up is that you get the one. It's like when you're dealing with the college basketball tournament in the opening rounds, you'll get like one day that's absolute chaos that you watch all day long. And then the other day is just chalk and everybody's, the 16 has no chance. The 15 gets blown out. The 14 going up against the 3 is nowhere close. It's like you'll get the good day of chaos, and then you'll get the day of chalk that you're not interested in. So we ended up with hell is real, the conference final, and then you end up with LAFC. We went over the numbers on Monday where LAFC, I think, only had like 30% possession, and they're a painful watch sometimes. It's like, I don't know after, whether it was the CONCACAF extravaganza or if it was, Leagues Cup and all these tournaments where Steve Cherundolo just kind of sat there and took the water faucet and just went and just turned it all off.
Mm.
And it's not a good watch right now. They're winning.
It's interesting because that's not what we were used to, right? With LAFC.
Yeah.
We were used to like this high flying, like Rossi and Vela and all those dudes running around, and like what a fun team that wanted the ball. They took the ball. They scored a ton of goals. They were fun to watch. They were what Columbus is now.
Yes, absolutely.
And then they became this like pragmatic playoff soccer team, basically, right? Where it's like, let's grab the 1-0 win, let's choke you out, and we're on the day of celebrating again.
I just have this vision now of Steve Cherundolo choking people out, and Chiellini, just like in some kind of a triangle choke like we would see on AEW or something like that.
He would do the choke, and then he would put his arms up to the ref like, what do you mean? What? No, I didn't do anything.
No, it's like I let go before the 4 count. You see the ref.
Yeah.
One, it's like
or he has the foreign object, he throws it out of the ring, like, what? No, what are you talking about? Look, check me.
Exactly. It's like, I got nothing here. You can sit there and check all of this. And so it's just, I don't know where it changed, but it's just, they are trying to, LAFC, make it only periodically enjoyable in rushes where Denny Bouanga turns clinical and scores, and Carlos Vela apparently wants to just try to draw fouls, shake his head, and have his palms northward going, what's going on here, and why didn't we get the whistle? It's like they've gone heel all of a sudden. They literally have gone heel here.
Yeah, I mean, just it's goals in transition, goals and on set pieces, and that's it. You could have the ball.
It's like who are they? Red Bulls?
Well, they're in the Cup final.
Yes, I know.
They're in the one, so they're certainly not Red Bulls.
No, that is true. But they do act like the ball has cooties, and they don't want anything to do with it.
Yes.
And so it's an odd mix. It's like you end up with the twin brother that is the opposite personality of it's like you got the twin brothers. They're both there. They're both like the preppy dressed guy, the stylish suits and everything. And they have like the same job, but one of them is the life of the party, and the other just wants to like go home and read a book or something.
Yeah. And that guy was the life of the party. So the brother's like, what happened to you?
Uh-huh.
It used to be so much fun.
Yes. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I just got tired of it all. I want to go home and read a book. So when you look at this matchup where LAFC feels the ball has cooties and they don't want anything to do with it, and Columbus and Wilfred Nancy are more than happy to just, kind of sit there and go, we're going to throw everybody at the ball, and we're just, hey, you know what? We're going to believe in freedom and understanding and, peace, give peace a chance, all that kind of stuff. I mean, literally, they'll throw anybody in the play at any given moment. It's a challenge, I think, for the LAFC backline. What do you see in this matchup coming up?
Yeah, I think for us neutrals, I think Columbus needs to score the first goal.
Yeah.
For it to be a fun kind of game, right? I think if not, it's going to have that choke feel to it, because LAFC will just, if Ryan Hollingshead scores off of a corner in the 6th minute, like, oh, good luck.
It's out. It's done.
Now,
mail it in.
Now that said, the glass half full, the optimist will tell you, but look, I mean, it's obviously a different team, but Columbus were down 2-0, right? At Cincinnati, at the Supporters Shield winners, and they still found a way to come back. So maybe there's something special about this team, this Columbus team. So, listen, styles make fights, right? So I think this sets up to be such an intriguing game of a team in Columbus that wants to play the beautiful game and to pass it around and attack free flowingly against an LAFC team that's going to be pragmatic and hit you on the transition. So, I think from that standpoint, it sets up to be a terrific final. I mean, Edge home should obviously go to Columbus, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think you could tell me about the juice boxes. I don't follow such things, but I would assume that they're a favorite, but not by much.
Yeah. So since you have brought that up, I will go digging. I will go digging for the Christmas side dishes and see what folks are looking at here when it comes to the juice boxes in this particular matchup. It is Crew at a plus 118. 90-minute draws a plus 245, and LAFC is a plus 223. So Crew favored by a fair poke, as they say in parts of the South.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's the margin for me is really interesting. The fact that Columbus is that close to even money at a plus 118 and LAFC is that far away from them, being on the road, having the experience of playing in finals, all this kind of stuff. I could go 90-minute draw to plus 246 and not necessarily, and I wouldn't have a chance to flinch twice, I would have no problem with that whatsoever. Going 90-minute draw and laying it all out there and going, I'm cool. But that, of course, knowing me, I'm the guy that would sit there and go, I can go with a draw. You sit there and you give me 5. You give me 5 matchups. 3 of the 5, I will probably sit there and go, yep, draw. and that would, when we had the Monday night show, that would drive Jason crazy because I would sit there, everybody would be like, yeah, you picking a draw? Yeah. We're not shocked.
Yeah,
Matt Miazga actually came out publicly and said things. Laurel Fowler, who's done some really good work with what's been going on in Cincinnati.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She says, Matt Miazga said he was advised not to speak out during the league's investigation led to his 3-game suspension for misconduct. But now that the process is over, he wanted to publicly take responsibility for what happened. Instead of taking public responsibility, publicly taking responsibility immediately, we're going to wait until after a lot has happened in the season before we sit here and say that you're going to take responsibility for what's going on.
I would have hoped that message was sent to that locker room earlier, or maybe at the training ground, or because listen, he's might be defender of the year, but that's like like dare I say, idiot of the century, like that. You just you just screwed the pooch.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
for no good reason.
Mm-hmm.
The first yellow you get because you wanna get a rise out of fans who, by the way, years ago were loving you.
Mm-hmm.
And then because of getting that yellow and the suspension, now you go, crazy. And again, that wrestling analogy, right? Like you're going.
He's the heel. Miazga is the heel.
Oh, but he's always been the heel.
Yes.
He's the international heel. Like
Uh-huh.
he's hated everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when he pulled the move. Was it against El Tree, if I remember correctly? Where
Yeah,
he's standing over the guy and he goes like this.
I told you that. Yeah. That was Diego Lainez, who was significantly shorter than him. Yes, but you didn't need to get reminded of it 5 times by Matt Miazga.
And for a guy whose yellow card count has to do with his heel behavior and not because he's going to stick into a tackle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what 2/3 of his yellows this season in Major League Soccer were for behavioral things as opposed to activities.
Yeah.
And so he's end of season interview avail. He goes, my teammates already know this and the coaching staff and, all the technical staff and people in the front office, but I want to take responsibility, obviously, for what has happened. Unfortunately, my intentions didn't really play out to what has actually happened, and I take full responsibility.
What were your intentions when you entered the referee's locker room?
Exactly. My intentions didn't really play out to what has actually happened. What does that mean?
Like, here's pizza, guys. Like, I brought you some food for the post game. Like,
here's a bag that's got some fries and some ketchup, or or here's what does that mean? First off, you sir, are not allowed in that room. Door
and it says it, and in case, like, for those of you who haven't been in the bowels of an MLS stadium, it says that pretty clearly on the outside of those doors. You cannot be mistaken for being allowed in that room.
What, was the door open? You didn't see the sign? Security's right there. It's like, bruh, you're not allowed in here. And what I'm looking at this. My intentions, unfortunately, didn't really play out to what has actually happened. What?
But see, like that, right? So even in a
quotelet, literally, it's like half a sentence.
Even there, you're like, what are you doing?
Uh-huh.
Just say, I was stupid and I hurt my team and I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
I'm disappointed in obviously how the investigation process has taken place and what has come out publicly. But ultimately, I can sit here and talk about details and say this was wrong, that was wrong. But the reality is everything is finished and I take responsibility for what happened and I'm going to learn from this situation. I'm disappointed in obviously how the investigation process has taken place and what has come out publicly.
Yeah.
People
not in what I did.
I'm disappointed in the process and what came out.
Yes.
What? What part of this does not compute? Apparently all of it. Am I missing something here? I'm sorry that my voice has gone up 3 octaves, and much like Kay Adams on the Peyton and Eli, I might have shattered some speakers.
I was gonna go like, was it Bobby Brady? I was gonna go.
When it's time to change, you've got to. I mean, I'm getting a migraine from this. What part of don't do this do you not understand?
Can you imagine how frustrating it must be to be part of their PR staff? Because like you talk with Matt before, right? You're like, listen, guy,
bruh,
the media's going to be there. You could say what you like, but let's make it short and sweet. Give your apology.
You're contrite,
Yep. And then let that be the end of it. And
or
then he
not.
opens up another can of worms.
Or not. Literally, I think that. Do you have Ace Hardware in the Northeast?
Yes.
Okay, so basically, someone should literally just go to Ace Hardware, get him one of those snow shovels, and just hand it to him right before the press conference. Keep digging, brother. I mean, you, dude, you don't did media class just like did you skip that day about contrition in an emergency situation? Am I missing something here? I mean, seriously, am I missing something here where it sounds like you're upset you got caught? You're apologizing not because you did something wrong, but you're apologizing because you got caught. And your coach enabled the whole thing.
Yep.
With what he said. I mean, it's like, seriously? I think I may still have that. Before you go, I still may have that. Hang on. Yeah, here we go. So I found, I think this is the right quote, but once again, courtesy of our friends at FC Cincinnati and their post game stuff.
Matt made a mistake, and now we're, he's paying the consequences. We've had good conversations just internally about moving forward from this and Matt's leadership and the importance of having him on the field. Having said that, I think the punishment is way over the top for the actions that transpired. I think this is something that's unprecedented, and taking everything into account, I think this could have been a heavy fine, and you try to keep your most important players on the field for key games. If you look at the NBA or the NFL, some of these other leagues, are you really taking off your top players in key moments because of things like this? I think you probably don't, and that's not the case here. But again, Matt made a mistake, and now we suffer from it. But I also would love to see some transparency and accountability with the officials. I'm talking about it. At some point, Matt's going to have the opportunity to talk about it. Let's have an official up here talking about what transpired, so it's not just transcript. It's not just, here's the report. I think, we can move forward in a strong way if we have that as well. So it's disappointing, but, I'll try to leave it at that so we can focus on, the game.
Pat Noonan gives me a migraine.
So his having said that part, like if he stopped before that, great.
Mm-hmm.
He spent more after the having said that. Like, I don't know if you have it broken down by seconds, but there was significantly more time spent from having said that to the game than that first part, which is the more important part.
And so basically, and I'm glad I kept that quote. Pat Noonan's basically saying, well, if it was like, I don't know, Nick Hagland, I wouldn't have a problem with this suspension. But it's one of my studs, so I have a problem with this suspension.
And guess what? If anybody in the NFL or the NBA went into the officials' locker room, yeah, they'd also not be on the field.
I mean,
this isn't a technical foul ejection. Like it's different.
What part of you don't do this do you not understand? Apparently all of it. This is unprecedented. Yeah. I think it should be a fine. No. It's referee abuse. Minimum 3 games from the federation standards. The federation standards. Oh.
I would almost argue that he, like, I know you're going to move on, but I would almost argue that.
No, go. I mean, I can hold up, the fourth can hold up the sign and put extra minutes up. I have no problem.
I think if you compare his suspension to Vanni Sartini's suspension,
yeah,
I think he actually got off better.
Yeah.
Like, I think he should have been suspended longer than Vanni Sartini.
Sartini got 1+5 for a poor joke.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, for me, Miazga getting 3 for charging into the room. And once again, going into, and if you don't subscribe to what Laurel does, I would recommend it just as a normal kind of a thing. So Laurel did a great blow-by-blow on how things went down. And her breakdown, PSRA, Miazga gained unauthorized entry into the officials' locker room, needed to be forcibly removed. Peter Manikowski from the PSRA comes out and says what he says. Pat Noonan then intimates that some of the details had been fabricated, and Manikowski apparently was looking into that kind of a further investigation of that. And it's 5 times in the account by the PSRA, Matt Miazga is told, you got to get out of here. You're not supposed to be in here. 5 times. Miazga says at least twice, I want to talk to the blanking referee. And it took him to be being forcibly removed 80 minutes after the match is over with either a pizza box or a brown paper bag or both. That someone from the staff finally goes into the room, tracked him down, and goes, basically, dude, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be in here. And for Noonan to say that some of the details, some of the stuff in the report had been fabricated, I mean, really? Seriously.
I mean, he was clearly in the room, right?
Yeah, and that's at least 3. That by Federation standards is 3, at least. That's at least 3. And Benny Sartini, for an awful joke, it was not called for.
Yeah.
Got 1 + 5 and a fine. And Matt Miazga, who storms into a place you're not supposed to be in. Like, literally, it is like the fortress of solitude in soccer. You do not go in that room. Matt Miazga goes past security, or security was looking in another direction or something, of RBA, and goes in, and I want to talk to the effing referee, and gets 3. I think he got off easy.
Yeah, me too.
So what's up with varsity media and MLS soccer and things not having to do with FC Cincinnati?
Yeah, just final coming up. So varsity media, a little bit of a hiatus until basketball starts after the new year, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Recharge batteries a little bit.
Yep.
And then we go hard in January with hoops and but yeah, MLS Cup final Saturday. That's what it's all going to be about leading up. I got a story coming up, I think later today, on LAFC's road to the Cup on MLSsoccer.com. Just sort of 5 big moments, or 5 big kind of things that helped pave their way there.
Well, as always, my friend, it's great to have you on when Wednesdays turn into midweek and we got big things. And next week, you're safe because I have high school football championships.
Nice.
So I will be at Mercedes-Benz Stadium Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I will lose 10 pounds and then get it all back going home, because I will stop at Waffle House and have the biggest plate of hash browns known to mankind when the championships are over.
Attaboy.
So we will catch up with you in a couple of weeks, my friend. And when you come back in 2 weeks, we'll talk about MLS Cup and other stuff. Be safe, okay?
Yeah, you too.
All right, that's Dylan. Dylan and I, yeah. I mean, Rich,